Oh, you want? Yeah, okay. Okay, is that okay, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman?
Sure.
Sure. Yesterday, we briefly discussed the Graham-Cassidy proposal, and I want to say that I have a great deal of respect for both Senators Graham and Cassidy, though if Cassidy were here, I'd say more for Graham. But he's not here. But I have grave concerns with this proposal, and I want to ask our panel about the plan's potential implications. Although the plan's specifics have changed over time and reportedly will change again, what we know from earlier versions of the Graham-Cassidy plan and from recent news reports is that it could eliminate funding for premium subsidies, eliminate the cost-sharing reduction payments, and eliminate the enhanced federal funding for the Medicaid expansion. Instead, starting in 2020, the federal government would return some, but not all, of this funding back to states in the form of a block grant. This means that states will be receiving less money under these block grants than they would be projected to receive under the ACA. Not only that, but the proposal also significantly redistributes funding across states, such that states that have been more proactive in enrolling individuals in the Medicaid expansion and marketplace coverage, like Governor Baker, yours, and my states, will see billions in losses, while other more sparsely populated states and those that have not expanded Medicaid coverage could see funding increases, at least in the initial years. After 2026, all this state funding would be eliminated, which means states would be on the hook for all costs associated with the Medicaid expansion, premium subsidies, and other cost-sharing reduction payments after that point. Earlier versions of the Graham-Cassidy plan also included a proposal to cap and cut Medicaid funding, just like the proposal that was included in the Republican bill to repeal the ACA, which failed to pass the Senate a few weeks ago. Governor Baker, based on what we know about this, about the Graham-Cassidy proposal, is this a reform that you could support for Massachusetts?
I'm also a big fan of Senator Graham and Senator Cassidy, but no. The proposal would dramatically negatively affect the Commonwealth of Mass. I mean, we're talking billions and billions of dollars over the course of the next 4 or 5 years. And that's not to say that there aren't plenty of programs where the federal government block grants money to states that work. I mean, a lot of our child welfare money comes through a block grant. We get money for substance abuse services and mental health services through block grants. We get money for, I would argue, some of the transportation money we get looks a lot like a block grant. But this particular proposal, in part because of the way it's designed, has major consequences for a state like Massachusetts. And I would also argue that, you know, when we talk about Medicaid generally, and I know this isn't supposed to be about Medicaid, you know, your income level as a state, your wage as a state is calibrated into what you get from the feds. We're a 50% match state. I'm pretty sure you're a 50% match rate. Governor Herbert is a 70% federal match rate. Governor Bullock, I think, is a 65% match rate, and I think Governor Heslam's a 65% match rate. And I got no problem with that. You know, higher income states should get a lower share of reimbursement from the feds than lower income states. I completely understand that. But that formula is framed in a way that's deemed to be sort of equitable based on that. The problem I have with the Graham-Cassidy piece, especially for a state like us, is it assumes that the cost of health care across the country should be the same everywhere. Now, we're a high-wage state, as I just pointed out. Because we're a high-wage state, wages make up about 70–75% of the cost of health care at the provision level in most states, which is why we get paid less on the Medicaid match than some other states. But to promote the idea you could build a block grant model around the idea that the cost of care that's higher in Massachusetts than it might be in Florida because somehow Florida's just smarter and better. That's not accurate. I mean, the simple truth is we have higher wages than they do in Florida, and that has a lot to do with why our healthcare costs are higher.
Well, I'm out of my time, but I would note that 99% of children are covered in Massachusetts, and more than 96% of all Massachusetts residents have health care. These are the highest rates in the country, and with a bipartisan effort, Massachusetts developed a system of health coverage that works, and I know that this Graham Cassidy plan would be not beneficial to states like yours and like mine.
Correct.
That do cover, I think we may be second in the country.